So this is how I like to answer the question, tell us about yourself. I like to answer this question in a structured way. Why am I emphasizing the need to structure most of your answers? Because number one, it will help you exhaust most of the highlights from your career or from your life. And then it will stop you going off tangents. And number two, and most importantly, it will help the interviewer remember your story. So again, what we are trying to do is to imprint our name and our story on the minds of the interviewers. So tell us about yourself. I would go number one, chronological order, where I'll talk about where I am currently and then go back to where I've been. So I'd say I'm currently graduated from X and X uni where I studied X and X course. I graduated top 1% of my class. I interned at XX company where I learned or I contributed this and this. In school, I intentionally purpose to lead. I was a class leader. I was a leader in sports. I also played soccer. I was a track star where I represented my uni in 2 editions of East Africa University Games. Proudest moment is when I was voted blah, 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 blah. Before X and X uni, I graduated from X and X high school, top 2% of my class. And I know you're looking for an all-rounded, exceptional student. I believe I'm a strong candidate for this job or for this scholarship. So again, what you are highlighting, I'm highlighting leadership, soccer, track, and then I'm mentioning this 1% of my class thing because that is exactly what the scholarship I was applying for was looking for. So they wanted someone who had good grades. And that's why you see, I keep mentioning 1% of my class, 2% of my class. They were looking for someone with leadership experience. They were looking for someone with extracurricular activities. And so that's why you see, I'm flashing out those moments. So you want to flash out key elements from your career or from your life based on what they are looking for. So you just don't tell a random story. You tell a story, flashing out key elements related to what those guys are looking for. Tell us about yourself. Number two, I would go the Missy way. So Missy is mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. I would tell my academic side and then I'll tell non-academic side of me. So I would say, to understand who Gladys is, I'll tell you the academic side of Gladys, and then I'll tell you the non-academic or things that I do outside class that I enjoy. So, academic side of me, I recently graduated from X and X uni where I studied X and X course, and I graduated to 1% of my class. I was a leader while in school. Proudest moment perhaps was when X and X happened or when I made this contribution to the school. Before X and X uni, I graduated from X and X 2% of my class, etc. The picture of who Gladys is not complete if I don't tell you the things that I do outside class that I enjoy. I enjoy number one, volunteering, because I like using my energy to serve other people, to serve my community. Number two, I like playing soccer. This is where I've learned most of my teamwork. And I know you're looking for an all-rounded student with good grades and leadership and extracurricular activities. And I believe I'm a strong candidate for this scholarship. And I'm hoping that this scholarship will enable me to study masters at X and X uni as I prepare to be X and X in the coming years. Another missing way you can tell about your now, before now, and after now. Why this is mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive is because anything in your life could be classified as now in the now category or before now category or after now category. So I would say I'm currently working as an X and X in this X and X company where so far I have contributed this and this and I've saved the company this and this amount. Before here, I studied X and X course at X and X uni, graduating top 1% of my class. While at uni, I intentionally sought to lead. I was also doing extracurricular activities. I was in soccer. I was in track. I represented my uni in a couple of university games where I won several medals and also raised the profile of our uni. Proudest moment perhaps is when this and this happened or when I contributed this and this to the school. From now, looking into the near future, I know you're looking for an all-rounded student, and I believe that I'm a strong candidate for this. And this scholarship will allow me to study these and these at this and this institution so that I prepare myself to be X and X in the coming few years. Then we move on to another example, situational question. They'll ask you, tell us a situation when you demonstrated leadership. Tell us a situation when you worked under stress. Tell us a situation when you could not deliver on a project. You worked in a team. Tell us a situation when. Those kind of questions. I would encourage you to think about structuring those questions in CARL way. CARL, C-A-R-L. C for context, A for action, R for result, and L for lesson or learnings that you got from them. So an example, Gladys, tell us a situation when you demonstrated leadership. Actually, this is a question that I've been asked before, or that I was asked in one of the interviews. So I used CARL method. I painted the context. For you to paint the context, you want to use as many 5 W's and 2 H's as possible. Go back in this video and watch where I explained how to use the 5 W's. So 5 W's are who, what, where, why, those things. H, how, and how much. So I would paint the context. I would say, tell us a situation when you demonstrated leadership. I would say, this is when I was in my second year of X and X uni. I love playing soccer. There was no women's soccer team at the uni. What action did I take? I took the initiative and leadership to form a school team. I would go door to door in the hostels or table to table in student cafe, recruiting female students. What resulted? In 1 year, we had a full team with substitutes, and 2 years after that, we were crowned winners of the regional soccer league. What I learned from that? I can't always wait for an outsider or a manager to cause change. I can be proactive, take the lead, and make positive changes where I am. So actually, you don't have to say, now I'm talking about the context, and then, oh, I'm talking about the action, I'm talking about results. So CARL is just make mental notes, and then you would know that you've talked about context, you've painted the context, then you move to action, you move to result and learning. So it's helping you. This structure is just helping you to paint a complete picture, to also say what you did or highlight what you did or your contribution, because that is very important. And then as a result, what came out of your action. And while you're talking about result, I would advise you to quantify, talk of numbers, percentages, things like those. And then importantly, what did you learn? Lesson is, talking about lesson or flashing out learning is very important, especially when you're talking about a negative situation or question. Like, tell us a situation when you were unable to meet a milestone. This is actually a question I've been asked in an interview. So you want to be very careful how you answer this question, because I mean, we are human beings, and I know interviewers appreciate that. We all fail on a project. We have negative experiences sometimes, but the most important thing is, what did you learn from that negative experience or that experience that didn't go well, so that you are able to improve if you meet similar negative experience in the future. So this is what I said. I used CARL. So I painted the context. I said, when I was in my first year of PhD at XX uni, I needed to complete some experiments and run some computer simulations so that I can present my results in a conference at X and X. Sadly, I was operating like I did in undergrad. I was doing most of the things by myself. I was keeping to myself and struggling through it alone. As a result, I wasted so much time. Although the experiments and the computer simulations worked in the end, but it was too late. I missed the conference and I could not present the paper. What I learned? Later, I learned that I should have moved faster had I talked with senior students to tap on their experiences to avoid repeating their mistakes. And also, I should have embraced the fail quick approach to avoid analysis paralysis that wasted so much of my time earlier on. Finally, some questions that might come up. Why should we select you, or why are you the best person for this job? Situation when you worked under pressure. What is your proudest moment? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Greatest strengths and weaknesses? What motivates you? And then any questions for us. So I would recommend that you make a list of up to 20 or 30 questions. Most of those questions are related, and pretty much all of those questions can be answered in a structured way. I would recommend that you have a list of those questions and then think about each question. How would you answer? Which structure would you use? You don't have to use structures all the time, but try as much as possible to think about structuring them so that you are able to exhaust highlights from your life and career, and also to keep you brief, and also to make your story a method. So for instance, why should we select you? You could say, you should select me. I think you should select me because number one, I have experience in this area. For instance, I did X and X in this company. I saved the money there, blah, blah, blah. Number two, I know you're looking for someone with leadership and leadership experiences. I have leadership experiences. For instance, I led in X and X where I did this and this. I contributed this to the company and all that. And number three, you should select me because this and this. So most of the time when you're answering those questions, aside from structuring your answers, also, you should show and not tell. So telling them would be, you should select me because I'm qualified, because I'm a leader, because I like this job. That is telling. But showing is you bringing stories and quantifiable results from the past. That is when you are showing. So most of your answers try to show